So in this video we will see how to upload a file using post request in C#. So let's say we have to upload a file to an external API. So here we have a website that offers hosting of temporary files, and they provide an API through which we can programmatically upload files. So how can we do that in C#? Let's see. So first we will create a console application, and then we will see how we can use the native HTTP client library of C# to perform post requests. So for creating our application, we are going to use the .NET command, and to create an application we just use the new keyword, and the type is console, and let's give it a name, something like HTTP post example. Let's go into our projects directory, and let me also import it into our IDE over here. So as we can see, we have the we have our template here, and if we go into program.cs, we can see the default script. So we don't need any of that, and first create a class called as HTTP post example, and inside this we will have our main function, which is our entry point. So it is important to note that for the console application we need a static entry point. So we'll just create that. We'll just set the return type as void for now. Alright, so if we have used any sort of request libraries in general, for example in Python, we know that we can do posts and get requests using the request library. Similar to that, we have a native library in C#, and that is the HTTP client library. So to start, let's just import the HTTP library. Now, it's not really important to use the using statement, but it's good to know in what namespace that exists. So it exists in the system.net.http namespace, and let's create an instance of the HTTP client. So we'll just use the shorthand new, or you could even do the old-fashioned way of doing this, but I think it's much better to have the new syntax that is available in .NET 8. Alright, so if you check what all functions you have in the HTTP client object, we can immediately see that we have the get request, and we also have the post request. So let's just use that as a starting point, and let's see what parameters does it take. So the post async function needs first the URI, which is easily specifiable. We can see here that the URL, the API URL is this. So let's just add that. It requests something else. So the second parameter is the HTTP content. So this will on a very high level contain the file that we are going to upload. So how are we going to import our file into our C# program and then upload it? So essentially the file would need to be imported and converted into something, or sort of added into something called as multi-part content. And multi-part content is sort of a data structure that that you can pass on to the your HTTP client that contains sort of files and MIME content essentially. So if you have to transmit data that is not just text or JSON or something like that, you need to use the multi-part content data structure. So we'll do just that. So let's just leave this option empty for now, and we can see that it is showing an error. That's all right. So first we need to import our file. So let's just create a sample file here, a sample text file, and let's just name it test.txt, and let's just enter something in there. So normally you can upload this using curl. Let's just try doing that first. And then finally we need to pass the URL. So it turns out that there is a let's do that. All right, so we can see that we can use curl, and we have uploaded this, and this is what we get. And we have made sure that the API works, and we are good to go. So first let's create first let's find a way to import our text file into our C# program. So maybe you can pass in the command line arguments when we are running our program, the terminal arguments into our program. So we did that using by adding a parameter to our main function. So the operating system will give in all the arguments that was passed into our program into our main function. So let's say that the first argument that we pass is the path of our file that we want to upload. So we'll just create path, and it's going to be the first item in our args list. Now this path is just a string. It does not contain the actual content of the file. So a file in C# is represented using a stream. So using the path, we need to create a stream to our file which will actually contain the data inside it. So for that we'll create a file stream, and let's just call that file stream, and we will use the open function and we'll pass in the path. But right now it is not detecting it because we haven't included it in our directives. So the open function exists in system.io. I spelled it. So yeah, so it exists in file.api, so file.open, which exists in the system.io namespace. So we will, so if you are using the open function, we will, as you can see here, we will need the path as well as something else, so file mode, whether you want to open it in read or write, or if it does not exist, whether you want to create it. But in our case, let's keep it simple and use another function called as openRead. So this the openRead function expects the file to already be there, and will just create a stream based on an existing file, and that is just what we need. All right, so now we have the file sort of inside our program. How do we create this multi-part content? So for that, we'll just create a multi-part form data content, and that is what we need. And let's call it multi-part content, and we will just create a new instance of it. And this is what we are going to give to our to our PostAync method. And we can see that the multi-part content, so the PostAync method accepts the HTTP content type here, and multi-part content is derived from the HTTP content class. So but now our multi-part content is empty, it does not have the file stream attached to it. So to do that, we are going to create an entry in the multi-part content object. So we'll add, and you add things to your multi-part content using the add method. And the first so let's see the parameters of the add command. So we need to add the HTTP content, but we don't have the HTTP content of the file stream. File stream is a stream, it is not an HTTP content. So how will we create an HTTP content from file stream? So there is a class called as stream content, and stream content derives from HTTP content. So we just need to create a stream content from file stream, and we can do that by stream content, and we'll pass in the file stream, and this is derived, this stream content class is derived from HTTP content, and add function perfectly accepts an HTTP content. Now that is not sufficient, we need to add the key and values that our API is going to check for. And in our API we saw that we added the file using the file key and then following its value, which is our path. It doesn't have to be the case that it's always file. In another API you could have a key called as say img or something else. So we'll need to add the key and value to our multi-part content here, so that our API can understand what is it that we are giving it, which is a file. So if you look at the add, the second and third, okay, it's not showing here, but the second command is the key, the second argument is the key, and the third argument is the file name, just like it is here. So how do you get the file name? So we have the path here. We can use a standard function called as path. In the path library we have something called as get file name, and we just need to pass the path. So now we have completely prepared our multi-part content, and it contains our file stream, the key and its value, and we have added it to our PostAync method. Now one thing that we can do is that PostAync is an asynchronous method, so we actually need to call it using await. But our function here is returning is just a static void function. It is not an async function, so we can it is not necessary, but we could make it an async function by just adding the async keyword, and then we can return it a task. Now we can call our PostAync using await, and this is going to return a string. It is going to return a task. It is not going to return a string, sorry. It is going to return this HTTP response message, which contains the reply or the response of the server. So let's just call that as a response, and we need to make sure that the response is successful, is representing a success code. And we can do that by the ensure success status code function, which is going to throw an exception if the status code represents a failure, something like 400 or anything other than normally the success status code, which is 200. So once we do that, we can we need to read the response of the server, so that we can get the URL of the file that we have uploaded, the public URL of the file that we uploaded. So for that we need to read the response of the server. So the response contains the server's message, the reply, in string or JSON. So we could access that using the content, and the response is actually a is actually a promise. So we cannot directly so we will see that we will see what I mean by that. So we have read as string async, which is a method of response.content. And the reason why this is like this is because response is actually a promise. It is not immediately it does not have value unless the response actually exists. So read as string async actually returns a promise or a task. So if we were to just read it, it might not print anything. So we need to read it asynchronously. So again, when you have an async function, you are going to use await, and now we will have our main method wait till this read as string async is going to actually return its value. This now can be written to our console. We cannot directly write response into the terminal. We will have to asynchronously read it. So that sort of is our entire program. So let's try to run this and see if it works. So first we'll save it, and then we'll first build it. So our build sort of finished without any errors, and we have our binaries in bin debug net 8.0, and our binary is called as http post example.exe. Now as our first argument, we are going to pass in our test file. And as you can see, we have a successful response from the server, and we can see that if this URL actually works. So as you can see, our file has been successfully uploaded and we can access it using the URL returned by the server. So I hope this video has helped you to understand how the HTTP client works and how you can use the PostAync method to upload files and sort of parse its response and write it into the terminal. So let's see in a future video sometime soon. Thanks for watching.